Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, to all of our attendees. It's an absolute pleasure to have all of you with us today. I hope you've been enjoying the conference as much as I have. I know that the talk that was just on about from Times Higher Education made me particularly optimistic about international students and their futures for 2021. It's just fantastic. So the session that we're about to be doing is all about peer-to-peer and how you can use it to really enhance your marketing and admission strategies to in turn boost your student enrollment. And to mark, I think Poppy just mentioned it before, but I'll say it once more, to mark the 4th hour of this 18-hour marathon of a conference, we have a prize giveaway. Competition. So to enter this competition, you just have to post on social media with your favorite moment from the conference so far. Perhaps this could even include a screenshot of the Unibuddy Live platform, and to include the hashtag Unibuddy 2020. The prize is an exclusive grey Unibuddy hoodie, sweater, jumper. I know we have far too many names for the same clothing, but that's the way we are here in the UK. And it's perfect for those work from home days when you don't need to be on camera too much. So before I go much further, we have a sterling panel here, and I think it's probably best I introduce myself. So my name is Sean O'D. I am the University Partnerships Manager for Asia, which means that I essentially work with universities right across Asia to help them put their student voice online. Before working at Unibuddy, I was actually a high school teacher teaching chemistry in London for a couple of years, which turned me into an EdTech enthusiast, I'd say, which led to me actually implementing new technology at schools right around the world, which has led me here to Unibuddy. Without further ado, I'd also like to introduce our first panelist, Fatima. So Fatima, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, thank you so much, Sean, and I'm very excited to be joining this session, especially to share my experience, on peer-to-peer in Southeast Asia, working with university in Malaysia. So a little bit about me. I started my career as a journalist, spent about 10 years, moved to Malaysia in 2007, spent 5 years with multimedia universities and 8 years with University Malaya.
Fantastic. And Regine?
Hi, thanks, Sean. Hi, everyone. I'm Regine. I'm from Curtin University Malaysia. I'm with this university for 6 years. I'm also a Curtin graduate. I got my first job with the same university as a student recruitment officer after I've graduated. And then I've been a recruiter for 2 years, and then 4 years as a digital marketing officer, handling all the online marketing campaigns, including we have initiated this online peer-to-peer program with Unibuddy last year.
Fantastic. And yeah, no, it's great to have you both here, so thank you so much. If any of you have questions, feel free to add it to the main channel, and we'll address them throughout the session and towards the end also. It's probably best to get things kicking off with actually looking at the example of Curtin Malaysia. So a question for you, Regine. And going back to the beginning of your student ambassador program, way before there were any real digital options available, and ask, when you decided to set it up and why you decided to implement a student ambassador program.
We actually have been continuously looking for new initiatives. For my role, will be more focused on online promotion and engagement with our prospect students. So from time to time, we're actually looking for new ways, fun ways to engage with our potential students. And last year, earlier last year, then we saw that our global campus, Curtin Singapore, is also using Unibuddy. So we find it quite interesting. A new way to actually connect our student with prospect online, which we have not done this before. We find that it's a very nice idea. So that's where we started to venture into this area. Then we get in touch with Unibuddy and was given a trial to try out. Then we find out it went quite well. That's how we started. Previously, we have our online ambassador program on running, but that's mostly on the offline recruitment campaigns where we bring them to our education phase or info days kind of event, or to the schools to share the experience with our prospect. So I think that this is a good idea that we can also connect them online.
Absolutely. No, it's fantastic to hear, you know, right from the beginning of learning, you know, how you set it up to begin with, and then learning from also your the Singapore campus and seeing how it worked with them. It's great to see how that referral kind of brings it all together. And moving from there, what would you say were the key reasons for specific to Curtin Malaysia that you decided to implement it, to implement Unibuddy?
I think the key reason is because for international recruitment, our staff usually travel to different countries to meet with the students. But there's a challenge that we can't really bring all our student ambassadors to go to all these events unless they are back to their home country during their study break. Yeah. So during usual time, there's also crashes with their classes, things like that. So we find that it's also a good way for us to have this online, where we can bring our international students to be up online, regardless of time difference or any other things, to travel around the time, to connect with all the prospective students.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to also think about that time difference. I know there's countless universities more and more now putting chatbots and various different platforms on their website, but they're only available at certain hours during the day. So the fact that you can have a platform that, you know, works 24 hours a day and they'll get back to you when they can is really fantastic. Especially for those international students who, in an ideal world, you would be bringing to, I suppose, it's international recruitment fairs, but they're not really possible right now, or even back then. So finding an online way is fantastic. And so moving on from there, this is a question for you, Fatima. You have a fair bit of experience of doing similar things as student ambassadors at Multimedia University and University Malaya. What would you say were the key reasons you decided to introduce the voice of current students at each of these institutions?
Yes, Sean, I think my experience at Multimedia University as well as University Malaya would be very similar to what Regina just mentioned. Apart from that, you know, being a public university like University Malaya, we always face issues like budget constraint and staff constraint, you know, and etc. So when we travel to places, it is almost impossible for us to really bring, you know, a big group of staff or even student, you know, so we have to narrow down to some, you know, some way that is actually possible for us. So back in the University Malaya, we have this society called International Student Society, where it comprises of students, you know, from different nationalities, and they formed a committee. And one of the main purpose of the student that you know that form up this committee is actually to assist new students, you know, in shaping their in starting their new life at the university. So with that, actually, you know, the society performed very, very well, and we thought, since we have very good number of students from different countries, you know, various nationalities already, why not we, you know, we introduce this, you know, to marketing activity too. So we started to engage students from different countries, you know, get them to share some experience, and you know, and then reach out back to as simple as like their school or, you know, their friends and family. And I found many times when I actually sit back at office, when we have this society, an association of students from different countries, they all want to express their experience. They all want to share, like, you know, what's going on with their life, you know, back to their friends and the family back home. So they sort of like, you know, automatically form up, you know, the communication platform. So almost all of them will have Facebook pages and etc. Certain time, and I would say most of the time, you know, I have people walked in simply because they were recommended by our student or the country society, and certain time they were actually approached by someone they don't really know through their personal Facebook, apart from the society Facebook. So those are very, very common events that happened back then.
Fantastic. And it's great to hear that prospective students are actually going out of their way and going onto social media during, I suppose, their higher educational research to find people to speak to. It's such an important part of that research process for them, I suppose. Looking at your experience of actually using your current students, have you ever used a current student, if say you've got a target new territory or a target region that you're trying to recruit students from? Have you any experience of using your current students to do that?
Yes, definitely. Back in University Malaya, we actually we appoint ambassadors from countries and get them to we try to identify like those students who are actually coming from country where, again, go back to budget constraint, so we can't really reach out to every part of the world. Certain country we have maybe 1 or 2 students. And that is actually good enough already, for a start. And I think I have a very organic personal experience to share in this sense. When I was with MMU, you see, this event is actually very remarkable, and it made me realize how important student experience, and how important to actually get that experience to share it out to prospects and parents. I moved to Malaysia in 2007, and I joined Multimedia University as a manager for internationalization and institution collaboration. But part of my assignment was also to overseeing market in Thailand. So that makes sense because I am actually from Thailand myself. But back then, it is important to also take note that there are few challenges that wasn't really easy to start doing marketing in Thailand, and so that is it important to start with to create awareness, but then back then we don't really have much to really invest in create branding of Multimedia University in Malaysia, in Thailand. So I started to look at the the resources that are available. However, it was very limited. So when you don't have student or even alumni to talk to, so what I did was I started to actually share with people that, look, I actually moved to Malaysia and I am with this university now. So I'm the first student that I recruited was actually my friend's cousin. Okay, so he came in for an English program, and then he had very good experience. Of course, like we need to also help like student as much as possible in order to create like good for him to have good time, and then so he can bring back and the good experience and share that with his family and friends. So from 1 student, it's actually multiplied to 2, and then it's it went on like that until before I realized it, I think within less than 3 years we have reached to almost 40 students. And the good thing about this is actually, I have just recently, I've been observing their Facebook. It's not just what they call, the time that they spend together, get to know each other during the university time. But then this relationship was also like created and brought out even after they graduated. So when they came back to Thailand, they've actually formed up this society that they're still meeting, hanging out together, and they're like supporting each other, and in so many ways, personal and professionally.
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a heartwarming story to actually hear. You can create a new region just through like 1 single person, and as long as they're having that really positive experience, it sounds like you had a very close relationship with them. It was enough for them to really recommend it and it to grow. That's just amazing. Obviously, that was several years ago, so it was back before there were many digital means to do so. And so actually looking at like moving that to an online strategy, and I suppose this is a question for Regine. at Curtin University Malaysia. How long did it take for you to actually move your peer-to-peer recruitment strategy online, and what were those steps like?
We actually have two different student ambassador programs. Previously, the one that we have is more on the normal usual student ambassador. Then we decided to have a more specific role for our online ambassadors. That's where we actually come up with this new online ambassador program, which focus solely on online. So in conjunction when we want to introduce this Unibuddy system, because we understand that online is 24/7 all the time, and then we want the student to be a bit more focused, so they are not too tied in with other offline activities and also their studies. So I think we are quite lucky because during that time we want to take on the trial. We actually have a list of students in hand where I actually interview them for a student testimonial, which is provided by the faculty. So in that case, we actually invite them, the list of students, if they want to join on our online student ambassador program. So it takes about 3 months, about 2 to 3 months for us to actually recruit them. It means we have interview, and then we have the selection and also provide them a training before they go on board with this program, and also to set up all the platform on our website to embed the Unibuddy coding. It takes about 3 months time. And then I think the implementation is quite easy and straightforward. I remember during that time, what we gave was a list of all our details, like the course we offer, our brand color and all that to our account manager. Then once all are set up, we are given with a login of the manager portal, the dashboard. Then from there, we can actually easily copy the coding that we want to embed on our website. If you're familiar with the Unibuddy, there is a few different layouts that we can use, like the pop card, the carousel. So we can actually, it's up to us that we can choose what kind of layout we want to embed on certain web pages. So what we did is we embed this pop-up link on our homepage, and also on pages that is related to prospective students, like the future students and international student homepage. And also we embed it on the courses page, where we'll try to match the course of our ambassadors on the course page. So let's say it's an accounting course page, we will try to show our accounting ambassadors on it to chat with the visitors. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I go to Curtin University Malaysia's website quite often, and every time I go there, it seems like there's something new. You definitely play around with it and see what works best. It's fantastic, just how creative you are with the technologies that you have, but also the way that you've kind of grown the ways that you use Unibuddy over this time. So yeah, that's so useful. Thank you for that, Regine.
Sean, may I add something to what
please do.
what in a point just now, which I find very interesting and it's very practical, and I think it could be a good takeaway for other universities who are actually trying to set up their ambassador team as well. And so we know that how specific can our student be nowadays. So having them by region, by country, is also one thing, but then in certain university, like public university, for example, where you're comprehensive, you offer like different level of studies. There are a lot of programs, for example, at they have more than 200 programs that are actually available. So to actually prevent students from getting lost into different to the places that they are not really keen on, then it is very important that you make it into a system.
Absolutely, and make it just as simple as possible, I suppose, for any student from any country to come onto your website and be able to navigate it and find the relevant people to speak to. Thank you for that. And also, I suppose, going back to Curtin Malaysia, how are you using your student ambassadors for any other marketing activities, or do you have a a different set of student ambassadors for different projects?
Yeah, we do have offline and online ambassadors. So offline, they are more involved in events like open day, info days, or some school fair and school talk, where we bring them in to meet with the student to share their experience. For online ambassadors, they are fully focused on the online chat and also blogging, mainly these two areas. And also we are involving them in other online related activities, such as having a video or photo testimonial for our social media. And also we try to involve them in like photo shoot session to be used for our online promotional materials. Because we have quite a diverse ambassadors from different countries. So when we have some campaigns on certain countries, if we happen to have ambassadors from that country, we will try to get them involved in these online promotional campaigns.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. And I think one of the good things is that they are able to speak multi-language for student ambassador from different countries. Is a good way to actually connect with their peers back in their home country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when you have two students speaking in their mother tongue, it's far more likely for them to have a meaningful conversation and something that's going to really, you know, help them make a decision and feel that there is. I suppose they're more likely to see themselves in the shoes of that student if they're speaking in a language that's easy for them to speak in. Have you got something to add there, Fatima?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it just I reminded something which I think is very important for for some university that might also experience this like facing this challenge. Last year we planned to actually travel to Nigeria, and Nigeria has been one of the very biggest market for University Malaya. But then we actually, before we going, of course, we do a lot of preparation and etc. And then we look back at the statistic. We have like very good, huge number of applications, and but then from the application number, when it comes to student enrollment or those who really come, it can go down to about 15 to 20%, and it seems the numbers seem to like shrink year after year. So we couldn't really figure out like what was it about, and what make it, those students that receive the offer and they don't come, until the point where we called in some student ambassador from Nigeria, and that when we come to realization that there's some small problem in communication that actually get us stuck there, and if we get this thing right, then we can probably manage to increase number of enrollment, or to double the number that we had. So with that, we work together with ambassador, student from Nigeria, and then trying to come up with like some video that is something to that serve prospective student as a guideline, or at least for those that already received offer letter, because it doesn't really when you send offer letter to student, it doesn't really mean that 100% guarantee that student will come and join the university. So this is actually important that how do you really sustain that interest, and not to really chase them away just because of a very, very small tiny problem that you don't really fix. So with that, working together with students from Nigeria help the marketing team to understood like how to say, like more internal challenges, and eventually we can overcome the problems, and that could also lead to increasing number of enrollment.
It's fantastic just to hear how big of an impact it had on your work in that country. And I suppose it's just a testament to show how important it really is to make sure you have that communication down to a T, and make sure that there is someone that they can speak to that's similar to them and speaking the same language. But even more so, I suppose, when it's a current student. I know that one of our first partners as Queen Mary University in London, they decided when they were giving away those offers of acceptance, so essentially accepting a student to their university, trying to ensure that they end up accepting it and enrolling, they included a link to speak to one of their current students alongside it. So in the same email, the same communication, there was a way for them to speak to a student from the same country or the same course, and it had a direct impact on the number of students that ended up enrolling, because it was such an important part of that final decision, being able to speak to someone similar to them. Okay, perfect. Okay, and now looking at the prospective student side, so coming at it from the other angle, have you received any feedback from them, Regine, on how they've been using Unibuddy and how much they valued speaking to a current student at Curtin Malaysia?
Based on the, we will be able to actually see the chat log of between our online ambassadors with the prospective student. We find that they are more open to ask questions to our students, and then you can see that the type of communication they have as compared with like a staff like me previously, it might be a bit different. For a staff rate, it's more about getting information about the university. But for online ambassador, they will be asking more about what do they do like in the day-to-day life in the university, like what kind of activities, student clubs they can join, things like that. And also they can also go into more in-depth question about what they are studying, what kind of thing in exact do they study in this specific course. I find that it is, I agree with what Fatima has shared. It is useful that it helps them to make a better decision while they are still unsure about whether this is the right choice for me or not. That's way they can get more insights, the day-to-day life from our students.
Absolutely. It's great to hear. I suppose it's that authenticity part of it, isn't it? They really trust it when it's coming from a student. I mean, you can write all you want in your marketing and admissions pages, but at the end of the day, when they're speaking to an actual student and they're talking through their own experiences, it's so fundamental.
Yeah, I would say it's more influential because they can share about the experience coming from their home country to Malaysia. How is the journey? Some of the students they may have not traveled so far to Malaysia, or maybe they might not know which city we are located. That's where our ambassadors will be able to share more to them. Yeah, one of the challenges that we tend to promote is our location. Because we're located in East Malaysia. It's not located in KL, which they are mostly familiar with. So that's where I think our ambassador help a lot to share about the study environment. And also the blogging help as well. We will encourage our ambassadors to write topics related like to the cities. What do they get? They can enjoy in this city.
Yeah. I think I've seen a few blogs on the Curtin University Malaysia blogs channel that's specific to moving from a country in Africa to moving to Malaysia, and what are the differences like culturally, and what to expect essentially as moving from a completely different city or different country. It's great to see them writing about those experiences.
Yeah, some of them. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go on, Fatima.
It looks like we are enjoying sharing our experience, and we have a lot, to talk about.
Ironic.
Yeah. So I think it is important to realize the very important facts that people like Regine and I were from recruitment and marketing office. We don't live their life. Okay, we recruit students, but eventually students will have their own way of living. They will have their own lifestyle of like where to eat, where to go, where to hang out, and I think joining the very first session today, our colleague from University of the one in Australia, he was sharing that certain students would need to look for some ingredients to actually cook their own food, things like that, and definitely, someone like me or Regine might not be able to answer that question. So it's go back to that way of living, that there are a lot of details that a student recruitment officer may not be able to guide them or walk them through when it comes to living. So it is important to have someone who also been through the same kind of experience, speak the same language, understand the context, so that because eventually a student will be living in with us, with the university for at least 4 to 5 years. So it is important to make sure that they have all kind of insights from their peer.
Absolutely, yeah. Did you want to add anything to that at all, Regine? Nope, that's okay.
No, yeah, we can carry on.
Yeah, no, I think that there's so much that we all want to speak about. We're all speaking over each other. That's great. So here's a question for you, actually, Fatima. It's to do with looking at students today, i.e., students trying to work out what they're doing in their higher education, for their higher education in the middle of a pandemic. What do you think are the key things that they are looking for from the universities themselves?
It's a very good question, Sean. And I think, most of our colleagues are actually going through that very, very big challenge at the moment. And the time couldn't be, couldn't be more right, because during this difficult time, they even want to actually get to know the real information from people who have been there, who've actually gone through that stages, and it's not just the pleasant perspective that we talked about earlier, and this is why it go back to the core value of having friends from the same country, to also advise and guide them through this very particular moment. And for people like us, student recruitment officer or marketing, since we can't really travel, so communication is seems to be the key, because students are not looking just the admission procedures, where is university located, the facilities, but they will probably start to think of like, what is it that going to support me during my time in this university, and if I am going through that kind of difficulties, who's going to be there for me? So the searching keywords might include something like Thai Student Association at University Malaya, so what they call Indonesian student at Curtin University, and etc. So it is very important for university to realize this value too, because if you miss this very important point, it could be that the university don't have that, so let's just forget about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that talk just before this one from Times Higher Education, and that pent-up demand amongst prospective international students, hopefully, I mean, it would be fantastic if it is the case, but to think that there's going to be almost double the demand next year because of all these students who didn't make a decision this year, they're leaving it to next year, and to be able to have all those processes in place to make sure that your institution stands out, and all that communication is available for them. I think the other thing is to make sure that you're available on as many platforms and social media, platforms as possible, essentially, because different markets use different social media forms, and everyone has their own preferences. So making sure that you can tick as many boxes, it's not just on Facebook, it's not just on Instagram, it's covering many different platforms at the same time is really quite important. Cool. So Regine, looking at, I suppose, Curtin Malaysia again, how has the focus that you've put on peer-to-peer changed over the last 6 months? And I think a good example may be to look at how have you perhaps even used your offline student ambassadors? Are they moving more into to Unibuddy, or are you finding other ways to use them?
Currently, due to the pandemic, all of the offline recruitment events are not being able to be continued on. So we have moved our focus on the peer-to-peer to more on the online part. So some of them they join our online program. Then nowadays we actually put more focus on this area, and also I also quite appreciate that from time to time there is new feature being added to our Unibuddy account, where we can also add our staff to be on the chat on the website. So currently these are the two main focus that we are having, that we focus on the website to give them a more accessible ways to reach out to our students and our staff, because they won't be able to meet us with these recruitment events at the moment.
Okay, and how have your student ambassadors found using Unibuddy? Do you think it's enabled them more so during COVID? Because I suppose they're probably unable to work in the typical ways that you would be using them.
So far, it doesn't really impact them too much because all the things that they are doing online chat and blogging are all through online. As long as they have internet connection, they will be able to do that. So it doesn't really change these 6 months. And then the good thing is that they have an app installed on their mobile phone. So whenever they go, they will be able to receive a notification prompting them that, oh, you have an incoming chat from our prospect. So they will be able to answer to them on the spot, or if they're having any classes, they will be able to respond later on. So it works quite easy to be used. It works quite similar with WhatsApp or Messenger. And then there is also a PC login for them. If they want to pause their blog, that will be more helpful for them to use the PC login to do the blog posting.
That makes it very straightforward. I don't think I could have sold it much better myself. It makes it sound very easy for the student ambassadors. So I know we're coming towards the end of our talk now. So, and I've also noticed that this has been more of a radio show than visual, because it looks like the visual part isn't working. So we didn't have to bother making ourselves look beautiful for this talk, unfortunately. Although you both do, so don't worry. I figure it's best now if anyone in the audience has any questions for us, now would be a good time to add them. And at the same time, whilst the questions are coming in, it would be good to find out, first from you, I think, Fatima, what would be your key take-home message for the audience listening to this session today, from your perspectives?
Yeah, I think we start to see more and more organization, adapt to new technology and new platform, and we see our students are actually very active in participate in every single platform out there. I think the very first thing they or maybe we all do in the morning is actually to sign up to at least one social media platform, and so then sort of like Instagramming, TikToking, etc. So we could actually make use of this and focusing on peer-to-peer support, because simply that I believe that this is a very essential part in human being experience.
Absolutely, it's a really nice takeaway. So thank you for that, Fatima. And Regine, would you have anything specific for the audience today?
I think it is a value-added strategy for us to complement what we have been doing for offline student recruitment. I would see it as an additional complement to help with nurturing all our students, the prospective students, because I find that, like what Fatima mentioned, students really play a big role to influence the decision making of these prospective students. And also the language that they are using, the culture, it creates a sense of belonging for the prospective students to be with this university together. So I find that it's quite nice to have this. And also it is not only on nurturing along the recruitment pipeline, it also actually helped to build a community to inspire the students to come together. Like some of the blog posts, we also encourage our students to write about, like for example, cultural difference between Indonesia and Malaysia. What are the similarities? Or some of them even teach them to, like Malaysia ambassadors, they will teach those readers some basic Malay wording
Yeah.
for them to get along, to know each other's culture.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that authentic message, it really all comes back to that at the end of the day, doesn't it? But yeah, it's a really good takeaway. So thank you for that, Regine. We have a question here from Emma on the Unibuddy main stage. So she's asked, have the panelists ever included links to peer-to-peer engagement in outbound direct mail or email campaigns? So I guess it's perhaps a question for you, Regine. Since you've used Unibuddy, have you ever included links to individual student ambassadors in emails that you've sent to prospective students?
That's something we are currently looking into to focus more on, to include these, to customize different ambassadors to be in different email, for example, according to the countries or according to the courses that they apply, to create a more customized connection between them. Not only will include a general link, but a more customized one.
Yeah.
Based on what is the interest of the recipient.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to really to personalize those messages, and that's what people are always looking for. They're looking for the most personalized communication they can get, and if they can see that you've gone to the effort, perhaps even if that email is going to a group of students in Thailand, the fact that there's still someone for them to speak to from Thailand from the back of that email is brilliant. So I think we're going to have to end it a little bit short there, because I know that Poppy and some of the tech team need to fix it. I think maybe the visual part of it, but we're going to have to say goodbye there. So thank you both so much for your time today. It was a really good session.